Good evening, Madam Mayor. Good evening, councillors. I've just been informed that a mayor won't be making it this evening. So, as such, I'll open the meeting and then I'll be asking for a volunteer to chair the meeting this evening. So, as it is just gone 7 o'clock, I now declare the meeting open. And now ask for a volunteer to chair the meeting this evening. Who would like to volunteer?
I'll nominate Councillor Hubel.
You happy to accept that? I'm not going to see any more. Thank you, Councillor.
Right, could you please stand for the acknowledgements? We acknowledge this land that we meet on today as the traditional land of the Kaurna people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the Kaurna people today. We pay respect to the cultural authority of Aboriginal people visiting or attending from other areas of South Australia and Australia. On behalf of the City of Burnside, I gratefully acknowledge and pay respect to those who gave their lives for this country and its people. We seek understanding and guidance in our debate as we make decisions that will impact on the lives of all those who reside, study, work in and visit the City of Burnside. Grant us wisdom as we serve our community. In the case of an emergency, I ask you to follow the direction of staff. So a reminder, we are live streaming this meeting. Please use your microphones and the queuing system. Refrain from using your mobile phones. I have no absences.
Through Mr. Chair, I've got 4 absences for this evening. I've got our Mayor, M1 So, Councillor Ted Jennings has put in an apology. Councillor Henschke and Councillor Cornish have also both put in apologies for this evening.
Well, Councillor Cornish is a leave of absence. Is that right?
Yes, sorry, my apologies.
No, that's all right. Okay, confirmation of minutes. Can I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Davey. Seconded Mike Dawes. All those in favour? That is passed. Oh, yes, sorry, thank you. Declaration of interest. Reminder, does any council member have a declaration for matters this evening? Thank you. There are no public presentations. So I'll move on to reports. So as I go through, I'm going to need you to use the queuing system pretty strictly, being new to this one. So as I read out, I'll just go by what's on the screen. 11.1, internal review of council decision. Okay, do I have a mover? Councillor Jones. A seconder? Councillor Turnbull. All those in favour? Those against? That is passed. 11.2, Council Member Behavioural Complaint Management Policy. Councillor Davey, you wish to withdraw?
Thank you.
You've got that? Yep, thanks. 11.3, Code of Practice, Procedures at Meetings. Do I have a mover? Sorry, I'm getting it. Yeah. Councillor Wilkins and a seconder. Councillor Zing. All those in favour? Passed. 11.4, endorsement of reappointment to the Burnside War Memorial Hospital Board of Directors. Councillor Zing, you wish to withdraw? To move. Do I have a seconder then? Councillor Davey. All those in favour? That is passed. 11.6, Kensington Gardens and McGill 40km/h speed limit areas. Councillor... Oh, sorry, my apologies. Oh, I saw that. Sorry, 11.5. My apologies, everyone. 11.5, Burnside War Memorial Hospital Constitution Amendment. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Turnbull, a seconder. Councillor Hallett, all those in favour? That is passed. Okay, 11.6, Kensington Gardens and McGill 40km speed limit areas. We've got Councillor Harvey, you wish to withdraw?
Thank you.
Thank you. 11.7, Aged Care Services business case. Councillor Davey.
Thank you. I withdraw.
Thank you. 11.8, Inclusion and Diversity within the City of Burnside. Could I have a mover? Councillor Hallett, seconded Councillor Zing. All those in favour? That is passed. 11.9, Beaumont Common Management Plan. Councillor Jones, you wish to withdraw? 11.10, the first quarter budget review. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Hallett. The seconder? Councillor Turnbull, those in favour? It is passed. 11.11, Finance End of Month Report for October 2023. Councillor Davey, you wish to withdraw? Oh, sorry. If there's no withdrawal, would you like to move, Councillor Davey? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Zing, thank you. All those in favour? That is passed. 11.12, the Mayor's Activity Report. Councillor Wilkins, would you like to withdraw or move?
I'll move.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dawes. All those in favour? That is passed. 11.13, CEO Report. Councillor Davey.
Thank you. I
Withdraw.
Thank you.
And 11.14, minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting. Councillor Jones, would you like to withdraw? Thank you. All right, we are off to 11.2. Councillor Davey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. I have an alternate motion for this one, and it is that Council adopts the Council Member Behavioural Complaint Management Policy. No, sorry, there's an amended version. Thank you. Council adopts the City of Burnside Behaviour Management Policy, named as per resolution of the 25th of the 7th, 23, at attachment 2, subject to any minor edits required for publishing purposes, and the following amendment. At 3.3.5, to read, to minimise the incidence of trivial, frivolous or vexatious complaints, the complainant's identity will be provided to the person complained about as a matter of course, unless there is a serious, compelling and significant legal reason to keep the complainant's identity confidential, and that this is disclosed to the person complained about. And 2, appoints for the purposes of section 75G2B and 75G2C2 of the Local Government Act 1999, the members of the Responsible Persons Panel, the power to act as the responsible person for any matters which involve the principal member under that section. So I thank the administration for all the work entailed in revising this policy. Of course, it's designed to supplement, support and clarify the requirements of section 262B of the Local Government Act, and of course also the Local Government Association Model Behaviour Management Policy, these provide requirements for relating to the management of behaviour of council members, and also the process for receipt and management of a complaint received regarding the conduct of a council member. So that's why I believe the title should be the City of Burnside Behavioural Management Policy. I think this is the ideal title, with a complaints management process included when it's alleged that the behaviour management policy has not been followed. So I think we just need that title up front, and because follows within the whole behavioural management framework. As Council resolved on the 25th of July this year, it wanted inclusion of reimbursement of legal expenses which were incurred when Council members were defending themselves and a complaint wasn't upheld. There was a request for a support person to be available during discussions, and this has been included, and greater clarity to prevent the progression of anonymous complaints, especially in relation to trivial, frivolous or vexatious matters, which may actually be or result from a dispute. So this is a rather complex policy, designed, I know, to support the behavioural standards for council members, but there are some aspects which are not readily measurable, e.g. how does a colleague discharge their duties conscientiously or show commitment, as is outlined on pages 39 and 40. But I think we should give this a go. It's not perfect. It's a lot of work's been done on it to develop it. It helps us comply with our obligations under the Local Government Act, and I hope you'll support it in this format. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Harvey,
Yes, thank you.
would you like to speak at this time?
Thank you. I would also like to thank administration for helping with these additions to this policy to reinforce that there will be no trivial, vexatious, anonymous or confidential complaints progressed unless there is a compelling legal reason to do so. That means if a complaint is received, there must be clarity and identity of the complainant, with no more nameless complainants. This policy has had these additions to support every one of us. It was supported by councillors at the July meeting to actually include these additions in the policy so that these anonymous confidential complaints are not wanted or supported. So I hope you will support this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Jones.
Can I ask you a question, please? Can the CEO explain to me the practical impact of this change compared to what is in the officer's recommendation and the draft paper we've all seen? Of the changes Councillor Davis put into 3.5.
I think as it stands, as per the officer's recommendation, there is provision that if a person wishes to remain, have their identity to remain confidential for a reason they would provide, then that provision exists. I believe this is seeking to essentially remove that opportunity. Is that a fair assessment, Councillor David?
Well, I'll take that as the CEO's current thoughts, but perhaps you'd like to elaborate a little bit more. I think getting an understanding around the room's probably pretty important.
I'll just need to revisit what's on the screen then. So it says the complainant's identity will be provided to the person. Now, I've just drawn the contrast that what's currently, as per the officer's recommendation, is that a person would have the ability to withhold their identity, and this is seeking to take that away.
Councillor Turnbull.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Acting, sorry. I have a question, please. I might wait for the CEO to come back. What I want to know, is there a feedback system for this new council member behavioural complaint management policy, seeing it's only been adopted this year and the outcomes have not been assessed? What I'm trying to say is, can the City of Burnside put in a feedback for it?
Thank you. The CEO is just doing some clarifications with corporate, so I may ask you to repeat that question in a moment. So, yep. After CEO's spoken, Councillor Turnbull, you can
If
ask
I may,
again.
Mr Chair, just to clarify, this motion is very similar. What's removed is the paragraph which talks about the person complaining having a conversation with the person investigating it and talking about the reasons why they might wish for their identity to be withheld. That's what's been removed. Is that a fair? That's a fair assessment.
Councillor Turnbull, would you like to ask your question again?
Thank you, Acting Presiding Member. What I would like to ask is there a feedback system for this new behavioural complaint management policy, seeing it's only been in place this year? Can City of Burnside put in what they think, how it's gone, evaluation of it and assessment of it?
Through Mr Chair, I believe the council actually should make a submission based on our experiences. I think we've got a lot of lived experience that we can share back with the LGA and the state government, and in my opinion, to the many shortcomings.
Is there a time limit with this?
No, there's no prescribed return or report. I think we could just make a submission.
Okay, that's my two questions. May I just speak a little bit about it?
Yeah, there's no one on the screen, so you
Number
can
three,
do your speaking
I
now.
don't like the idea of the responsible persons panel. I think it's setting council members up against other council members, and it's never a good thing to do in any organisation. Causes angst. We should be collaborating with each other and trying to get on really well, instead of a few people being doing this searching and evaluating of someone who's done the wrong thing. To me, you don't set yourself up against your own colleagues. So I think it's an insidious position, and I won't vote for it because of that. Thank you.
Councillor Cornish, welcome to the meeting. We're discussing 11.2. Councillor Davey has moved an alternate motion, which you can see on the screen there. Is there anyone else that would like to speak or ask a question? Councillor Dawes.
Yes, I'm just following on from what Councillor Jones said. The addition of these words is a question, and this is disclosed to the person complained about. Can I have an understanding from administration what interpretation do you put on those words? Is it to me that the reason why they can't know the addenda is because of these legal reasons? Is that how you interpret that additional part sentence at the end?
Through Mr Chair, yes, that's my understanding, that it's, if it is to be disclosed, that the reason for the withholding would be shared.
Okay, thank you.
There is no one queued to speak, so unless there's anything else, I'll pass back to the mover, Councillor Davey, to sum up.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Just to clarify, I believe this amendment at 3.3.5 clarifies this area because there is concern that trivial, vexatious complaints can be made, have been made perhaps, and this gives it's intended to give a clear reason to the person who's doing a panel member or an investigator that it's their responsibility, I would imagine, well I think, to advise that the person complained about as a matter of course will be provided with the identity of the person complaining about them. And I mean, as a lot of these cases go to mediation, this is, I understand, I think this is, and that's one of the intents of this behaviour problem, that we sort problems out, as Councillor Turnbull has said, that if the person hasn't approached the other person to say, I've got a problem, and let's sort it out, they make a complaint, it's in reasonable legal terms and for everyday good management, I think it's entirely reasonable that unless there is a serious, compelling and significant reason, like there's an ombudsman investigation or some other higher investigation, that the complainant's identity not be kept confidential. So that's what this is designed to be clear about. In terms of part 2, I certainly understand the issues about panel members investigating their peers, and that has some problems, but we don't have any choice about that. That's the local government requirements, and while I think it would be very beneficial for us to put in our objections to that and make them known to the Minister, because I think it's unworkable, I still think if people are putting in complaints, I think they will be kept down and kept more manageable if we have this requirement, which is to minimise the incident. Identities will be made available unless there's a compelling reason to not. So I hope you'll support this. It's just intended to clear and clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. We'll move to item 11.6, Kensington Gardens and McGill 40-kilometre speed limit areas. Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Acting Chair. I would just like to acknowledge the support from the Kensington Gardens and McGill community for a 40-kilometre-hour zone, which has been an amazing outcome. So thank you to all. I would also like to thank the following people for their support in this success. The Honourable John Gardner MP for meeting with administration and the community. Residents of McGill, John Wiley and John Eaton for their tireless work, gaining support with a petition and raising awareness in their community. Principals Jackie Van Royton of Norwood International High School and John Iannunzio of McGill Primary School, who were both extremely supportive, describing the speed and danger around their schools as excessive and just why this new speed limit is vital and needed. The McGill Childcare Centre for their support, and finally, administration for their work on this with a community consultation. The residents of Kensington Gardens and McGill and our school children will now have added safety going about their day-to-day lives. This is a tremendous outcome. I would also like to thank the councillors who supported this motion to go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hallett, would you like to speak?
No.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this motion? In that case, Councillor Harvey, can I assume you have nothing to add? I'll ask all those in favour and those against. That motion is carried. 11.7, Aged Care Services Business Case. Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move in accordance with the officer's recommendation. I don't think I need to read it out. And I'd like to commend Martin Cooper and his staff for all of the work that they've put into pulling this together, and for a terrific workshop that we undertook a couple of weeks ago, which really clarified the complexities of this issue and some of the challenges, and how we can work towards making sure our aged residents can age at home, age in place, and are supported as much as possible to live a full and healthy lifestyle. We've got a roadmap for the next year or two at Attachment 1, which I assume can be modified as we get more information, because the major issue is that we're waiting for the federal government to actually define what will go into these programs and what funding will be provided. So it's a work in progress, and I hope you'll support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cornish.
Hey, happy to second this motion. It's one of probably the most important services that I hear feedback that council does extraordinarily well for our community, and I think it's something that we need to keep going at a high quality. You know, the federal government has been cutting this funding or reducing it for many, many years, and they've sort of been trickle feeding the funding year by year for quite some time now. So it's great to see a plan of attack here. So thank you for everyone for their work.
Thank you, Councillor Cornish. Anyone else who would like to speak to the motion? In that case, I will pass back to Councillor Davey if you have any other remarks.
Thank you. No, I think it's self-evident, and I think Councillor Cornish said it all as well. There's a lot we need to do to keep this under review and await developments federally. So hopefully you'll support it.
Okay, those in favour? Those against? That one is carried. 11.9, the Beaumont Common Management Plan. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Acting Presiding Member. Councillor Hubel proposed this motion to have a Beaumont Common Management Plan in the previous council, but since he's chairing the meeting, he can't speak to it. So I thought I'd just give a quick explanation for new members of council who may not have been aware of what's going on. Beaumont Common, there's a certain amount of tension, shall we say, between having sort of open parkland with trees and having a very large biodiversity area of grey box grassy woodland on the common, and at the moment it's roughly split 50-50. Councillor Hubel and I were approached by certain residents who felt that the biodiversity zone was growing at the expense of the grassland, and so we proposed a motion, or proposed and seconded, and the previous council supported the idea of devising this management plan. So we would define zones in the common of how the common would be used, and that's very similar to other management plans that we've done at Tregenza Oval, Belliet Reserve. There was another one in your ward, I think, or maybe it was Penfold Park. So by now it's fairly well established. We had a lot of community consultations, so we've had 2 community meetings at Beaumont Bowling Club, which were chock-a-block with people. So like hundreds of people have had the opportunity to comment on this management plan. I think it's a good plan. I think it's we've reduced some minor biodiversity zones, but we've protected most of it, and so doing that, you've freed up a bit of grassy space for active recreation, but I don't think we've lost materially in terms of biodiversity. I suspect the path is going to be the thing that people will be most contentious in the plan. So I look forward to seeing what the community consultation is. I think there's a clear benefit in having compacted rubble tracks rather than the present goat tracks. It actually makes it a more usable reserve without really detracting, in my opinion. But let's see what the community says, and I hope you'll support it.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Can I have a seconder on my behalf? Councillor Wilkins.
Yes, on your behalf, I'm very happy to speak. As a member of Australian Garden History Society, I actually do support the work that has been done on the Beaumont Common since 1849, when Sir Samuel Davenport gifted the land to the city, the new city that was going to come over the next couple of hundred years. It is amazing that it has remained intact, and we need to value that and treasure it for the ongoing generations that come after us. And I just thank the staff for all the work they've done. I do the word exotic irritates me, I have to say, because I hope that doesn't include the oak tree that's on there as well, that somebody has planted some time ago. And, but if you're referring to the feral olives, well, that's fine. Get rid of them. But yes, great plan, and it will be preserved for years to come and the generations that follow us. Thank you very much to everybody involved.
Councillor Turnbull.
Thank you, Acting Presiding Member. I had a bit of concern, page 433, number 23, about removal of trees. Now, 11 mature exotic trees, but only when they reach the end of life. Well, it's a little bit dubious too. And all in all, it's going to be proposed to move 9 shade trees, not to be replaced. Oh, 3 new grey box to help the loss of canopy. 9 take 3 equals 6, so 6 trees are lost. Oh, it's only 6, we can plant some more, but here we are, you know, City of Burnside saying we love our trees, we protect them, we do anything for our trees. Only 6, it doesn't matter. And in survey results, which I had a good look at, they all feature trees as their most, what would you like about the common? 3 most important elements, trees, trees. 5 elements you would like more of, trees. So it's all about trees. And yet we're going to take away 6 and put probably little ones in. So for me, that's a little bit of a sticking point, I'm afraid.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I absolutely endorse Councillor Turnbull's concerns. I too was a bit worried to see the stage removal of mature exotic trees at the end of their life. And I can understand in a planning sense and a biodiversity sense that might be appropriate, but I hope this takes a long time, and I hope they're not sacrificed in doing this. Because while Aleppo pines are considered weed species, they support a huge number of our cockies and our much-loved birds. We've got Aleppo pines dotted all around the place, and we don't just cut them down. And the same with European olives. I mean, they're highly valued in some areas of our open space and not in others. So I hope we're not going to be too puritanical about this, and it'll be interesting to see what the community co-design feedback tells us on this. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak or ask a question? Councillor Hallett.
I've got a question. What is compacted rubble? Compacted rubble path?
Through you, Mr Presiding Member, I'll refer that to Mr Cant.
Through your worship, the best example I can provide you is the path at Kensington Gardens Reserve. Yep.
Get a lot more people using it.
You've got them in, yeah, Kensington.
Councillor Turnbull.
I've just got a, thank you, Acting Presiding Member. I've just got a question. There's a lot of talk about the word vandalism in this report. Now, just an interesting one. If vandals are apprehended, is it the councillor who prosecutes, or does the SAPOL get called in if you're found to be doing it?
Through Mr Presiding Member, I'm just here to clarify, is it referring to vandalism of the infrastructure or vandalism of trees?
The trees and things what happened in the Beaumont Common.
If it's vandalism of trees, we have the capacity to proceed with that prosecution.
Right.
Yeah, or the investigation.
So do you find them?
There's, in my submission to the Parliament, I talked about in great detail how the different sections, there's 3 different acts. At this stage, we, under one of them we do have the ability to fine, but the other 2 we don't. They need to be court applied penalties. We've made a submission to the Parliament that we should allow councils to issue infringements. That would simplify the matter for us.
Thank you.
As I've no one on the queue list, I will hand over to Councillor Jones.
Just very quickly, because I was running out of time, I do apologise. I forgot to say thank you to Mr Cant and Mr Schroeder and their teams for all their hard work in organising the plan and the community workshops. Just in response to Councillor Turnbull, the good news is this is going out to community consultation. So if people want to preserve the olive trees and the Aleppo pines, then we'll get feedback, and that should probably be a key question to ask, I would have thought, in the final consultation. How do people view that? Look, I mean, olives live for hundreds of years, so I don't think there's imminent danger of them being removed, and we can blame Sir Samuel Davenport for planting 10,000 of the bloody things in Beaumont in the first place. So, look, I hope you all support the motion.
All those in favour? And those against? The motion is carried. Eleven 13, the CEO report. 11.13, the CEO report. Councillor Davey.
Thank you. I'm happy to move in accordance with the recommendation. And I just had a couple of questions. One that I'm not clear about is, again, under Human Resources, page 588, it's 2,756 casual hours being required, and it doesn't state what for, and I just wondered why we needed that temporary labour hire contract. And then I had a second question.
So through Mr. Acting Presiding Member, if you're comfortable, I'll provide a similar table that we provided to last month's question, just to make it abundantly clear. But in short, there's various parts of our business that we do rely on temporary labour. So whether it's our outdoor workforce, some of our library staff, our pool staff in particular are all temporary contract staff. So I'll provide a table which articulates that clearly for you.
Councillor Davey, I took that question as a question. Did you actually want to speak to it? No, you're happy? Okay. I'll just have you down as having spoken then, unless you'd like to speak. Because you kind of moved and then just asked a question as opposed to spoke, so you wouldn't have an opportunity to speak later if you wanted to, so I'm just checking on that before the time passes. Okay, well, Councillor Cornish is up next, and jump on the queue and
reserve.
We'll get to you. Reserve, thank you, Councillor Cornish. Councillor Davey, the follow-up question.
Thank you. My apologies for not following procedure. The other issue was the Aldana North Reserve illegal tree and plant removal, and I believe we had a big poster that we took down because it was placed in the wrong place, and we have to replace it. And I just wondered, has that gone up? And I'm also a bit confused about semi-mature trees being planted around Burnside and how we're managing that. If you don't mind clarifying that for us,
certainly.
Thank you.
Certainly. The answer to the first question is easy. Yes, it's gone back up. It was just an issue about the position of the neighbour's boundary. That the sign was actually inadvertently put across their boundary. So we've clarified that. And in terms of the 15 trees, we will, as part of our next year's planting program, be particularly looking at where we're going to put these 15 trees. And I think, Mr. Cant, you should all have received an email about planting in your wards. Have you all received that email? Now, as part of that conversation, if you have some ideas about where you think a tree, one of these 15 could go, Mr. Cant's happy to get that feedback.
Do I have Councillor Wilkins?
Yes, if I might just ask a question through to the CEO. As I drove up Green Hill Road tonight and seeing it's rained, could some of that temporary labour staff, hire staff, please weed the weeds that are on the corner of Cudmore or Sturt around the restaurant that is on a corner, because we have milk thistles on Green Hill Road, and that's an annoyance, shall
Through
I
Mr.
say.
Presiding Chair, it may not be those particular staff, but we'll put that in the system and get our team. Well, we don't need a working bee, but we'll put it in the system as a request, and we'll get it looked at.
I'll take that as a recommendation, Councillor Wilkins. Councillor Dawes.
Yes, thank you, Acting Presiding Member. I just want to refer to page 613, which is the Era Water Report, and there's no mention of sales. And I always believe that with the Era Water Report, we should have an ongoing report about how sales are going. So I'm asking the CEO whether in their report, which I'm glad to receive for each of our council meetings, can they add a section on potential sales?
Through Mr. Presiding Chair, what I would suggest is I won't provide commentary around potential sales, but I agree with you, and I'm happy to put some figures in about what actual sales are being achieved, which I assume that would give a level of insight. Because if I talk about potential sales, and sometimes I can't talk about them because they're in confidence, but my thought is that some of the concern was we kept talking about potential, and they weren't translating into reality. I think the better news story is what have we managed to transfer into reality? Because but yes, I do commit to reporting on that for you.
With no other speakers queued, I'll offer Councillor Davey an opportunity to sum up. Okay, I'll put that to a vote then. All those in favour? Those against? That is carried. And the final report, 11 to 14, the minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. Colleagues, I just wanted to bring one thing to your attention, which is on page 620. And perhaps by the time you got to page 620, your eyes might have started to glaze over. But I just wanted to draw your attention to the motion that was passed about the long-term financial plan assumptions. And note it was proposed and seconded by the independent members. So it wasn't me banging the drum. But please note too, notes the steep increase in the net financial liabilities ratio climbing high in years 2, 3, 4 and 5, and recommends management review strategies to decrease the net financial liabilities ratio. Look, we have an issue, colleagues, that we have gone into debt, quite a lot of debt, and as a result of freezing rates for 2 years during COVID, we now have no operating surplus. And the operating surplus is the only thing that generates free cash flow that will repay debt. So unless we take some radical action of either increasing our operating surplus or, alternatively, we spend less on new capital expenditure than depreciation, which is probably not a sustainable long-term strategy, we're going to be in a position where, one, we're not repaying any of the old debt, and we've seen proposals in the long-term financial plan to take on new debt, because we've got the Burnside Rugby Club / Kensington Cricket Club, that's $2 million. In the long-term financial plan, I think we've got the Glenunga Oval resurfacing, that's $3.5 million. We're discussing later tonight the Regal Theatre Master Plan, which is again a substantial amount of money. I won't say how much, but all that is not going to be funded by recurring rates income, and if we want to do it, we'll have to borrow the money. But ultimately, you can't keep on borrowing money forever, because the the local government, it's not the local government finance, it's the state government financing authority. Once you get to a certain ratio, they say, no, that's it. And that has happened to a council that's not too far away from us, has reached their borrowing limit, and that's it. So I just wanted to flag that to you, because you might not have picked up on the significance on page 620, but otherwise I hope you'll support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Davey, are you seconding?
I don't wish to speak.
Is there anyone who would like to speak or ask questions? Right. The Chair acknowledges and thanks you as member of the Audit Committee in bringing minutiae details to the Chamber. It's very valued. So I'll put this to a vote. All those in favour? Those against? That is carried. Okay, we have no questions on notice, but we do have a motion on notice. Item 13, Civic Centre Master Plan. Sorry, 13.1, my apologies. Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Mr Chair. This has been moved, and I'll read it out, but I understand there is an amendment coming, but the intent of this is that Council receives a report by the end of February 2024, which considers and addresses the status of the Civic Centre Master Plan, and in particular updates the following aspects: the history of the Master Plan and its development, state of the assets and buildings and how they're being utilised, e.g. for staff accommodation, council business and meetings, and for provision of community services, greening, landscaping and cooling of the precinct, car parking adequacy and any other relevant issues, and a briefing or workshop for council members. So my intent was to raise this. Some of the new, I've mentioned it in the past, and some of the new council members had said they didn't know it existed. So I thought I would raise this. It's since been pointed out to me that having a report is counterproductive until it'd be better for us to have a workshop. So I believe there's a variation being made to this. So I hope you'll support in whatever form it comes to you, so that we can consider the master plan. We don't necessarily have to make any big plans, and especially with the warning we've just had. But I think we do need to consider how the master plan operates and how we actually manage our civic centre and buildings, and keep an eye on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. Councillor Zing, you wishing to...
I'm wishing to move an amendment, Chair.
Okay, my understanding is we need a seconder to the original motion before we can deal with an amendment.
I'm on your screen.
Sorry.
I'll second it.
Councillor Zing has come in with an amendment, but my understanding was we needed a seconder to the initial motion before we could deal with an amendment.
Yes, correct.
Okay, sorry, Councillor Zing, I'll just need to have someone second the motion. So, Councillor Wilkins.
I am happy to second this because both Councillor Davey and myself were on the original committee, on the original council that actually looked at this, and I would like to make sure that everybody knows that this was on, perhaps Councillor Cornish, this was on the agenda way back when. So yes, I'm happy to second it.
Councillor Jones.
Can I ask a question? I know this was scheduled to be released from confidence, the report. Has it been released yet? It has.
Councillor Zing.
Thank you, Chair. I've sent the amendments through to the team. I think this is the previous one, because this one, scroll down. The amendment shouldn't be asking for a report, it should just be asking for a briefing, so it should just be removed.
Now, how does that sit with substantial change?
It's in line with the CEO commentary that Barry provided.
Councillor Zing will just wait for some clarification from governance. Councillor Zing, can I just clarify the nature of your amendment, just to be clear, that the change in your amendment is that you're asking for a briefing or workshop as opposed to a report?
That's correct.
Right, thanks.
For clarity, Mr Presiding Member, if the mover and the seconder are in agreement, we can deal with this as a variation rather than as amendment, and that certainly simplifies the process.
Okay, so the mover and seconder have agreed to that proposed amendment, so it's going to be dealt with as a variation, and the motion moving forward in debate is that it is a briefing or a workshop.
Yep, correct.
So, do I have anyone else who would like to speak to or ask questions? Councillor Hallett.
Thank you. My question is, given Councillor Jones's comments, you know, and warning us about some of the a really important financial position in regard to setting our next budget, and in consideration of what some of the budget bids that are coming forward, significant budget bids, my question is it a waste of time putting effort into this now when we're not likely to have the money to do anything about it? Would it have to be done again further down the track?
Through you, Mr Acting Presiding Member, I think as long as we use the workshop to review the current information we have, and then for the team to provide some fairly high-level updates, I think the workshop would have some veracity, without perhaps getting into huge capital expenditure concepts. So, in short, I think the workshop will have some veracity to bring us all up to speed, and the team won't have to expend a great deal of effort to pull this together, I don't believe.
Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Worship. Mr Acting Presiding Member. No, I'm fully supportive of this. It's always handy to have master plans available and up to date. Councillor Hallett, you never know when the federal government needs to stimulate the economy and dump a crap ton of cash to councils to do things, and it's really handy when you've got projects on the shelf ready. It's always important to have master plans at the ready, so I do support us keeping them on the boil. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Davey.
Thank you. I just had a question, if I may. Have we started to raise revenue from our EV charging part of the Civic Centre, or is that in confidence?
No. Through Mr Acting Presiding Member. So the charges that Council installed, they were used by the public prior to the installation of the RAA charges, and at that stage we were charging for the electricity that was consumed. Now those charges have been reverted back to purely for council fleet vehicles. The RAA charges are totally separate infrastructure from council. We don't provide the electricity for that. That's provided by the RAA, and they deal with that side of it. So that's actually totally separate. It's totally separate from council. Yeah. Obviously, that we have a lease agreement for those few parking spaces, but the power and the charging mechanism is all with RAA. Yeah.
With
Can
no
I have
one.
a follow-up question?
Oh, Councillor Davey, yes, please.
Sorry, that's why this master plan, this Civic Centre master plan review will be very interesting. I thought they were there as revenue generating. And it was some it's a great initiative and everything, but I thought we were getting something out of it.
so there's no financial gain for us because of the arrangement I just mentioned, but in terms of our community, I think there is benefit. In essence, I think it's a valuable service for our community that, in essence, we can provide for zero cost. It also provided, you know, it was the first, super fast charger, you know, in South Australia. So it certainly elevated Burnside in a positive media perspective. But also, if you think about everyone that's coming to the Civic Centre, they now get the opportunity to use the network. So it does have many positives.
Councillor Davey, I'll pass over to you.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Thank you everyone for your contribution. I think especially for the new councillors, it will be very beneficial, and certainly for those of us who've been around since 2018 as well. It'll certainly be very beneficial to have an update on the master plan, what it covers, and I'll be very interested to see how we utilise our buildings. I'm not fully aware of how we utilise the floor upstairs. I think we probably need to have a little bit of a look at our gardens and landscaping and trees. I'm very concerned about some of the hot spots that we've got in the Civic Centre. Someone else has said they think we need to steam clean the building and the facade. So there's just a few aspects like that that float through our mind when we're at our headquarters, because these are our headquarters and something we're very proud of. So hopefully you'll support this and we can have an update. And it's not necessarily to expend money, although the intent of my timing was that if there was an opportunity for a budget inclusion for some reason or another, that it be included in that round. But that isn't necessarily the raison d'etre for me raising this. So hopefully you'll support it. Thank you.
All those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. We have no urgent business I'm aware of. Okay, in that case we'll be moving to item 15, which concerns confidential items. So I'd like to thank the gallery for his attendance this evening and compliment him on his fine scarf. Can I have a mover for us to, move into confidence? Councillor Wilkins. Sorry, I have Councillor Zing on the screen. I'm sorry, Councillor Wilkins. So moved Councillor Zing, seconded Councillor Dawes.